¿Cómo está? Muy bien. ¿Y tú? Gotta start Brady on Spanish soon. The boy must learn Spanish! Alright. Alright, I got a lot to do. Alright, let's go live. Let's go live. Oh, there's a 14-year-old owning a cop, which is hilarious. I actually eventually want to put together a course specifically on teaching children how to remain in honor and to speak with law enforcement so that they don't incriminate themselves, they defend their rights, and they do so in a completely respectable way. So that is why, that is one of the things I really want to do. And in time, I mean, I have so much I want to do. I wish I could replicate me. Hey, Hardware Bear, I'm talking about cloning myself. Illuminati confirmed. And all right, let's go. Let's grab TikTok. Hardwood, I booked Missouri. I booked Missouri last night, which flight was rather expensive, but it is what it is. All right, here we go. All right, let's see. Why is so many? Okay, there's Melissa commenting. She's crushing. She's crushing. All right. Let's go Cubs to Bears. All right. Apparently, the people on TikTok didn't love my volcano video. Apparently, they'd rather just talk about destruction in the world rather than how to build. All right. Sterling, Virginia. Now, I'm not picking that up. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, man. Trying to spam me. All right, let's do. Let's call this. Let's bring the moms in. Let's call this Fun with Science. Fun with Science. All right. Fun with Science. Here we go. All right, let's bring TikTok in the fold. Let's bring them in. Bring them in. All right. Here we go. Just want to get the phones to line up nicely together. There you go. 1, 2. I got double the phones, double the fun. All right. Peppermint gum. Is that what it was? All right. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, TikTok. You are here with YouTube. We are live, and it is a wonderful day here in the sunny South. Boy, do my plants look happy, although I better water them soon or they won't be because it's a scorcher today. So hopefully we have some fun in the sun and I can get the children into the water because that would be good for everyone involved. But it's a beautiful day. The summer is one of the most exciting times for children for, because you could do so much outside. And for anyone that's homeschooled or anyone that's really taken control of their child's education, you know as well as I know, the best education takes place outside in nature, hands-on learning, and that is what it's all about, and that's what we are going to talk about today. Because today, this morning, I released the second installment of the original Classical Learner Homeschools Connected Science Curriculum. And it is a wrinkle on an experiment that everyone probably knows. People love this experiment. You see people do it all the time. I've done it with my son 1,000 times, and he wants to do it 1,001 because he absolutely loves it. But what I like to do, what I'm trying to do with science, is really take it a step further. That we're not just learning the science, but we are focusing on teaching children the scientific method and to trust their power of observation, to have them formulate their own hypothesis. What do you think's going to happen, little Matthew? To do the experiment, to set up controls. We have independent variable, we have a dependent variable, we have a control. And then to observe what happens. What happened when you did the experiment? Not what do you think happened based on what you read, right? Like we could set up the lava volcano experiment and we could do reading about how when these substances come together, it produces carbon dioxide, and that leads to a bubbling effect, right? But what did you observe? Not what did you read? Oh, well, I observed that when we added the vinegar to the baking soda in our volcano experiment, that it started to bubble and rise up, and it actually poured out of the water bottle, or our volcano, right? That's what you observed. So it's all about not just the science itself, but about developing critical thinking faculties in our children through the study of science and showing them that they can use and trust their discernment. And whether it's the way we study science, the way we study history, or the way we teach children English, and if you guys want me to get into that, I could get into that. Done right, itself, the study of science, history, English, will turn your children into critical thinkers. So let's talk a little bit about the lava experiment and how you can set it up with your children. How you can set it up with your children so that they can learn the scientific method while having fun. So everyone's aware of the lava experiment, and I want to talk about the wrinkles that we do. So the lava experiment is simple, right? You take a water bottle, you leave a little bit of water in there, you add some baking soda, a couple drops of dish soap. If you want it to be red, you add some red food coloring just for the effect of it being lava. And then you take vinegar, you pour the vinegar into the bottle, and voila, it produces carbon dioxide, the baking soda bubbles up, volcano, right? A volcanic eruption. Pretty much everyone knows that experiment. So if you're setting that up, what I would suggest you do is to create wrinkles, because it's about more than teaching your children science is cool. And science is cool, right? I love science. But it's about more than that. It's about teaching them that there is a methodology, that there is a proper way to do science, to test science, to retest science, right? And that is the scientific method. So what you do is you set up the one water bottle and you put everything in it except the vinegar. You set up the second water bottle and you put everything in it except the vinegar. The second water bottle is going to operate as a scientific control. And as you do this, we're teaching children what a scientific control is. We're teaching them what independent and dependent variables are. Once they have that set up, you do a little bit of reading. This is what happens when you mix carbon dioxide and vinegar together. The acidic compounds within it produce carbon dioxide, which causes bubbling. All right, so now, you say, before we do this experiment, we need to make our educated guess. We need to make our own hypothesis. What's a hypothesis? Well, that's when we gather information and we set up a science experiment and we do our best educated guess what we think is going to happen. What do you think is going to happen, little Matthew? Well, I think that when we add the vinegar, it's going to be a volcanic eruption, right? And children get all excited. All right, let's write that down. And then depending on the child's age and level, right, you write down with them or you have them write down. My hypothesis is that when we add vinegar to baking soda, there will be the coolest, biggest, most gigantic volcanic eruption that anyone has ever seen. Great hypothesis, right? So now you're teaching them about doing research, about making an educated guess, formulating a hypothesis. You're showing them what a control is. We have a water bottle. We have two water bottles, and one of them's our control group, and the other one is our our live group that we're going to add an independent variable to. So you then take the control, you put it to the side, you take the vinegar, because you set up the hypothesis, right? And you put the vinegar into the water bottle, and voila, right? You have them identify the vinegar as the independent variable, right? And the control group, it gets no vinegar. We're going to see if anything happens to the control if we don't add vinegar, right? But the independent variable, it goes into our live experiment. And you put the independent variable, the vinegar in, and it explodes, right? It's an eruption, a volcanic eruption of epic proportions. And the children go crazy and they're excited. So then after they do that, you continue the science. Okay. And the cool thing is you can keep putting in more vinegar and it'll keep exploding, erupting. So then you say, all right, first question, what happened to our control? Well, nothing. It just sat there. Okay, so when we didn't add vinegar, then nothing happened, right? Yeah, nothing happened. All right, so let's write down. What happened to your control? Nothing. All right, what happened to your dependent variable? What's the dependent variable? The dependent variable is the effect that happened to the liquids in the volcano, right? Did anything happen to them? So when you put the vinegar in, what happened to your dependent variable? It bubbled up and erupted, right? And they could write that down. So now we see the difference between the control and our dependent variable, right? So, oh, don't worry, I'll get to the trolls. And by the way, are you guys really going to listen to this man speak to you like a 7th grader? Hey, you wanna compare credentials? I have a bachelor's degree in history education. I have a master's degree in special education. I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. I was given the award as the top student in my graduating class. I worked for 8 years in the field of education. I have published not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 books. I am an Amazon #1 best-selling author. I am the founder and CEO of a homeschooling company, and I have made my original homeschool curriculum. But I'm sure you are super intelligent, and everyone wants to listen to what you have to say. You could skedoodle along, because literally no one cares what you think. And I do mean that, like no one. Like your mom doesn't want to hear what you have to say. So you guys can block that person now. They can get lost. Okay, so anyway, now that we've put that person into their rightful place as they come here to spread their hatred and vitriol, we can talk about science again. So you set up the volcanic eruption and you say, yeah, mic drop. Boom. Goodbye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. So then you set up your volcanic eruption, and from there you ask your child, what did you observe? And they might say that, let's say they go, well, when the vinegar and the baking soda were combined, it created carbon dioxide. And you go, did you observe that? And like, what do you mean? Yeah, I mean, it bubbled. I mean, you saw it bubble, but what does carbon dioxide look like? Right? Say, no, I want, what did you observe? Oh, okay. I observed that when you added the vinegar, that it bubbled up, went up the water bottle, and came down the sides. And the more vinegar we added, the more it bubbled up. That is what you observed. Did it have a smell? Right? Yeah, maybe, yes, no. I don't know, you give it a smell, right? We're not going to give it a taste for obvious reasons, right? Did it make any sounds? Yeah, I kind of heard a crackling sound when it bubbled, right? Did you touch it? What did it feel like? Yeah, it was a little sticky, right? So you're challenging them to use the senses to document their observations. Then you say, okay, so now let's talk about the results. You need to document the results of your scientific study. So then they document the results that when you added the vinegar to your, when you added the independent variable, the vinegar, it bubbled up. And based on your reading, it is your belief that the reason for that is a chemical reaction took place in which carbon dioxide was created. And then what further questions do you have? And ultimately the further question you hope your children could get to, depending on age, is that can we set up an experiment which actually tests specifically for the presence of the carbon dioxide? That, right? Because then you're talking about using science to prove what you know, formulating your worldview based on that and what you read, which is great, and then asking the right questions. How can we set up experiments to test for what we weren't able to test for within our experiment, right? And it's simple, it's beautiful, because the whole idea behind it is you're teaching your children science, you're giving them a love of science, the fun of the eruption. You're teaching them about the scientific method, that science comes with a method, that it is a beautiful thing. I don't believe in science, gotta have one God, and I choose Jesus. Yeah, I mean, that's silly. And the reason that's silly, and the reason I tell you that's silly, is let's say that God created this world. I certainly believe that God created this world. Well, undoubtedly, when you start to study the world, it would basically be engineering on a divine level, right? I mean, when you look throughout nature, there's pi in everything. There's the Fibonacci sequence in everything. Nature is measurable. It's consistent. There's rules to it. It's beautiful. And assuming that God created the universe, which I believe that he did, then science really is the study of God's beautiful engineering. So the notion that you wouldn't want to study science because you believe in God is a rather silly one. I mean, why wouldn't you study God's masterpiece, right? I mean, if Leonardo da Vinci makes a sculpture, why wouldn't you want to study that sculpture? Why wouldn't you want to go to the Sistine Chapel and study the beautiful work of Michelangelo? Well, look at nature around you. I mean, my God, I homestead. Look at the grass, look at the trees, look at the beauty, the blue sky, the clouds, everything. The energy coming from the sun, the mystery of the moon, and what are these things in the sky? Science is beautiful. Science is not a rebuke of God. Science only proves the existence, the beauty, the artistic nature that is the divinity of this world. So, yeah, science is wonderful, and I'm a Christian. I absolutely love science, and I encourage everyone to study the world and learn science. And on top of that, not only do we want to understand science from that perspective, but we are teaching our children to be masters of the universe. This year, we have done a year-long nature unit study. And in that study, our students have planted seeds. By the way, you want to talk about the wonder of science and the wonder of God? Look at what a seed becomes. When you homestead and grow your own food, I mean, I make trees. I make trees that grow me peaches and plums and mangoes. I make them. It's amazing. It's amazing. Right? So we've done a year-long nature unit study, and our students have planted seeds. They have made little greenhouses, studied how greenhouses function, the science of the greenhouse, studied photosynthesis as they actually grew plants, studied soil biology as they actually did composting, learning about how fungus and bacteria come together and provide plants the nutrients. They decompose animals and biological material, releasing nutrients into the soil. The plants absorb those nutrients, right? The children are learning this as they're doing it. The beauty of God's work, the beauty of science come together through hands-on learning. So they're learning this science. They're making their own fertilizer out of banana peels. They're making fertilizer out of eggshells. And they're nurturing their plants, knowing that their plants will then, in turn, nurture their own bodies, and that will make them grow big and strong like Popeye the Sailor Man. You know, minus the apparent stroke that the guy had. But he was big and strong, and he liked spinach. So, you know, that's good. So, we are teaching our children this science. We are teaching them this, the way the world works, through hands-on learning, and that will empower them to do wonderful things throughout their life. I know this. There's this guy, Benjamin Balderson, who was an alchemist in California. Very impressive guy. And Benjamin Balderson has such an understanding of the world, and this is where I'm trying to get our children to ultimately go. Where this guy, he wires his own electrical on his property. He does amazing things. It's amazing what he sets up. He has pumps, and he has water rights, so he's allowed to do this. He has pumps going into his river, and he actually pumps water out of the river and uses it to, whatever he uses it to do. All these elaborate systems he has set up. He has such a relationship with nature. He has alpaca. He has goats. He has cows. Ready for this? He hasn't even castrated any of his animals. That might sound, you're like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Where do you think your food comes from? This is what farmers do. You understand? So he hasn't done that to any of his animals because, as he says it, if you have a deep enough connection to the nature of your animals, that you don't have to do that because you understand how to communicate with them, how to be their leader, and how to control them. Which is a remarkable claim compared to how farming is done in 99% of the world, right? But this guy is a true alchemist, a true scientist. He understands the world around him. He grows hemp. He breaks down hemp to every individual compound to the point where he is able to extract all of the oil and all of the salt out of his hemp that he grows. And then he's able to take the oil, the hemp oil, and this is not about getting high, by the way. There's a lot of things you can do with this stuff. And all of the salt, and he's actually able to make products, and he has a tremendous understanding of the human body and whatnot, and that type of stuff. You gotta be careful what you say on here. And he sells this stuff on the internet for a living, right? Understanding science, understanding chemistry, understanding the world around us and how it works is an amazing skill that all of us should aim to teach our children. And don't think it has to be complex. Let's say you have a 2-year-old, right? Let's say you have a 2-year-old and you sit in the kitchen and you're cooking something. And your 2-year-old is there with you. You can teach them all about chemistry right in that moment. All right, help me out. Can you help me out? Yeah, I'd love to help out. Can you pour the water in this pot? Yeah, the kids are all excited and they pour the water in the pot with water. All right, now I want to heat up this water. And can we observe, what do you think will happen when we heat up this water? It'll get hot. Let's see what happens. So you heat up the water, and after a few minutes, what happens? The water starts to bubble. You said, what's happening? The water's bubbling. You just introduced your children to alchemistry, right? They're understanding science. They're understanding the world. You could take that same concept and say, I have an idea. All right. What's your idea? What do you think will happen if we freeze the water? What do you mean? Well, when we made it hot, it bubbled. What do you think will happen if we make it really cold? I don't know. All right, well, let's try it out. All right. So then you freeze some water. You take some water, you put it in the freezer, you check on it after 2 hours, it turns to ice. So what happens when you make water really cold? It turns to ice. What happens when you make water really hot? It bubbles. And by the way, you're teaching them to make observations. You're teaching them to hypothesis, even if they don't know it. You're teaching them to observe the world around them, to think critically. And as they get older, we start to introduce lava volcano experiments, and we start to have them make fertilizer out of banana peels and make fertilizer out of eggshells, right? And you could study the different properties. So the eggshells are really rich in calcium, and the banana peels are really rich in potassium, right? Oh, let's do a little research on plants and soil biology and what plants need. Oh, calcium, potassium, nitrogen, right? Or we'll figure out how to get nitrogen to the plants, right? You are teaching your children to be masters of the world. And that's what education is. That's what education is all about. People look at the great people throughout history. They look at people like Leonardo da Vinci, and they're like, wow, Da Vinci, what a great scientist. You know why Da Vinci was a great scientist? Not because from a young age he went to science class and he studied scientific theory. Like, all right, Leonardo da Vinci, you're now going to read about the theory of relativity. That's nice. No, Leonardo da Vinci was a great scientist. And it's not that you don't have your children read about all of these things, right? But the reason Da Vinci was a great scientist is because from a young age, he was physically trying to manipulate his world doing hands-on science. And that gets into the way his parents raised him and they allowed him to follow his interest. He was really good at art, interested in art. His dad got him an apprenticeship at an art school, or with an artist, I should say, because his son was so interested in art, right? The way we teach our children, we want to teach them that they could conquer the world, that they have a hands-on relationship with science, with chemistry, and with all these different things. And if you do that and you build on it, you'll be amazed by the things they'll do by 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And then on top of it, you take that, because what we're talking about is critical thinking and skill development, right? I mean, these are skills we're talking about. And then obviously they're thinking critically by doing all these experiments, and then you take that and you pair that with entrepreneurial experience, your kids will do amazing things in this world, you see? And it's easy to get them entrepreneurial experience from there. I mean they could literally take eggshells every week, grind the eggshells into powder, and make the powder into at-home fertilizer. They could approach a few local farmers, right? And you could do this with little kids, you could do this with, and say, hey, if I deliver you this amount of egg powder once a month, would you be willing to buy it from me? And you'll find a farmer that's willing to buy it. And, these are little kids, so you could say literally, if for $5 a month, would you be willing to do a business agreement where I deliver this eggshell fertilizer? And you can find that, like, there's so much you can do with that stuff, right? And you get your kids entrepreneurial experience, whether that's that or lemonade stands, and you just build critical thinking, skill development, entrepreneurial experience. Critical thinking, skill development, entrepreneurial experience. And your kids will do amazing things in this world. I'm now going to go back and read your comments. I'm going to fight with trolls that were banned 30 minutes ago. And so that's what I wanted to do today. For anyone interested in what I do, www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected is our private homeschool community. It is absolutely awesome, and it's $10 a month with the discount code FREEDOM. So I'm going to go back, see what the people were saying. I want to be where the people are, but Mr. Give You an Ouchie says I'm not allowed to be. But what will we do? What is that word? Rebel. Maybe it's me, maybe it's you, but it's what a freedom-loving person should do. Mr. Ouchie will see. He cannot oppress you and me. That was my Disney remix of the day. Because I want to be where the freedom is. Okay. Thank you for the science. So cool so far. All right. Water or women's rights? I don't get it. All right. What a beautiful morning to Mrs. Classical Learner, who I walked downstairs yesterday and my wife was in a gigantic inflatable cow costume that apparently she ordered from Amazon. And that was a good laugh. And then obviously we sent videos and pictures to the members of our homeschool community. Hey, Smarty Bear. You know, most of the bears I know are Smarties, but Smarty Bear might be the smartiest of the Smarty Bears. My corny jokes are level 10,000 today. Mic drop. Yeah, I own that person. I mean, that was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. Who was that? It was a bitter little troll. A bitter little troll. You're gonna listen to this guy? He sounds like a seventh grader. Get lost. Goodbye. Yeah, the link is www.classicallearner.com. It's Homeschools Connected, our private homeschool community. And if you use the discount code FREEDOM, it is $10 a month. Just to give the quick rundown, you get access to all of the curriculum that I produce. So that includes the science curriculum I've been rolling out, our STEM projects. I've rolled out some construction projects, which are really cool, and much more of them to come. We have classes I teach on propaganda using Cubs Bears children book series that I wrote, and you don't have to buy the books for that. I mean, you should, but you don't have to. I read the books to the children right on screen, so it's all good. I teach courses on the Bill of Rights and the the Bill of Rights, the American Revolution, the media industrial complex. I do cool unit studies. Like I just did a unit study on the Georgia Guidestones, which is all about like, people say this and people say that, but how do you actually find the primary documents of where people are getting information from? How do you find primary documents through sourcing? Like, so that's the crux of the lesson. Like the media industrial complex is all about how do you track the funding, right? Right now I'm doing a unit study I'm putting it together. It'll be done probably next week on the medical industrial complex. And how do we teach children to track the money? How do we teach them to track the people? What is a lobbyist? What does a lobbyist do, right? So by doing this, you're teaching your children how to understand these institutions. You're teaching them critical thinking and how to actually function in the world. And then we have our year-long nature unit study in which children are composting, constructing garden boxes, getting entrepreneurial experience, selling flowers, selling things that they build out of wood on Etsy, like really cool stuff that we're doing. You get access to our community of amazing mothers and fathers. We have an open chat that's 24/7, which is one of the best chats on the internet. Everyone's respectful. In fact, I won't tolerate people being disrespectful to one another. There's disagreements, that's fine, but you act respectful toward one another, have adult conversations, and everyone does, and it's wonderful. And we have state groups so that you could connect with people in the states that you live. We have people that have had physical meetups and have become friends in the real world. They homeschool together in the real world that have met on Homeschools Connected. We have a pen pal program. So the sky is the limit. We are just touching the surface of what we're going to do, and I couldn't be more excited about it. So that's Homeschools Connected. That's what's up, and yeah, we'd love to have you. So that's really what I wanted to cover today. I usually I get more comments by the time I get to my opening rant, and then from there I kind of riff. But yeah, that's really what I wanted to cover today. Process of learning, critical thinking, using science to create critical thinkers, teaching your children the method. One of the things I'm going to incorporate over the next couple of weeks, we've gotten into the method. I really want to get into children understanding validity and reliability. Validity: does your experiment test for what you think it is testing for? And reliability: if you do the experiment again and again and again, will you get the same results again and again and again? We are teaching our children real science, the scientific method, observations, hypothesis, all of what they should be learning in schools, but instead schools hyper focus on scientific theory. I have no problem with that as long as you're teaching them sound science as well. But unfortunately, in our schools, that's not happening. So that's really what I wanted to cover today. I think I'll do a shorter stream today. If, less people, less comments, that's fine. It is what it is. I'll do a shorter stream. I have so much I have to get done. So I think I'll call it on that. So freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. I'll be back tomorrow, probably at 9:30 a.m. to earn it. And classicallearner.com. You can find me Classical Learner on everything that we do. And yeah, that's what's up. That's what it is. That's what it is, yo. Or each what? I got mine on Amazon. Did you? Oh, my books? Yeah, my books are $11.99 each. They're on Amazon. Yeah, Cobb's book series. I need to sell them as a set, but I really haven't figured out how to do that yet. And I have so much going on between like people in my homeschool community will tell you I have been building out curriculum pretty regularly, and I that's dominating my time, and it's what I need to do because it's what it's the right thing to do for our community, and I need to be the driving force behind how do we teach our children critical thinking, develop skills, and get them entrepreneurial experience. And we are going to do that in spades. We are going to do that in spades, and I'm so excited about it. I've already started on a construction curriculum about teaching children carpentry, and there's so much I want to do with that. Like, I have so much I want to do with that. So, we're gonna do some pretty cool things, and yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, people. All right, guys, it's been fun, but I've got to run. I'm just accounting for the 10-second delay.